Thank you for joining the March 24th, 2020 VOLTHA call. Our main topic for today is to be going over our JIRA issues into the final scrub between code freeze for 2.3. Just a reminder to everyone that our meetings are public recorded and posted to YouTube after the meeting concludes, so please be mindful of that during discussions and should we happen to have any presentations today. So with that, I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. And I did see that some of the issues did get updated prior to the meeting. So thank you everyone for taking a look at your issues there to save us a little time on this meeting. Okay, so just a quick snapshot view of what we have for this release so far. We've got the 470 issues in the version, 432 of those are done. 33 in progress and 5 to do. So we'll be going over the in progress and to do issues that remain since we're trying to prep for code freeze for 2.3. Any questions or comments from anyone before we get started? I'm hearing nothing, so I will go ahead and move on to the filter with the issues on it. And just a reminder to everyone as well, if you do want to speak, you'll need to take yourself off of mute in Zoom. Okay, so I think I'm gonna have to close up my participants window so I can see the issues on the screen. So give me one moment to readjust things on my side. We'll give this a try. Okay, so let me do a quick refresh here. We still have 38 issues. Oh, 37. So thank you for getting in there and updating it. The first one is defect 2801. Pings are failing in a few scenarios after successful authentication in DHCP. Let's see, Girish is the one who's been working on that. Don't think I see him on the bridge. Do we have anyone who can speak to this item? Let me take a look here. Looks like it's got patches out there for review at the moment, or a patch.
Yeah, I think this one, at least he says that it's the first, this is part of many fixes to come.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be there. Yeah, I don't know the details, but I think
so the one, yeah, that one patch kind of addresses some of that, the infinite loop. There's also, I think this relates to the the bugs that Andy was seeing in the BBSIM error case test. I think there's an indication loop in the adapter that I think we still need a little debugging on.
Okay. So are we thinking this one was going to get resolved before we, well, this is a defect, so defects can still go in later.
I think it has to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will continue to work on this even after we branch out. So.
Okay. Okay. Let me go ahead and move on to our next one then. Sarah, this one's assigned to you. Vol 2800, the HTTP fails as downstream packets are not trapped to ONOS.
Yeah, I submitted a patch yesterday. Should take care of it. Should merge sometime today.
Okay. So that one looks like we are on track. Thank you for that. Next, we've got another one for Girish, subtask 2788, add new unit test for OpenOLT adapter. And this one looks like it's merged. Do we know if there's anything remaining here, keeping it from being moved to resolved? Is there testing
I don't know.
underway?
I'm asking him to come to the call. I don't know where he is.
Okay. So we can circle back to that one.
This is Girish here. Sorry, I joined just now.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, I had a question on 2784, add new unit test for OpenOLT adapter. I do see a patch that was merged in Garrett. Is there additional work on this item or is it done at this point?
No, the UT was still missing, so I was in a hurry to give some patches for sanity testing. I still need to add UT for those.
Okay.
For that particular code.
Okay, thanks. And then it looks like the next, I've got another couple for you here as well. Vol 2787 fixes an open ONU adapter to handle flow removes before flow adds for a subscriber. Looks like we have one merged patch.
Yeah, I think this completes.
This
We can
one's
close
done?
this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 2. The task, so let me put it as done. Thank you. And then the next one, 2786. This one is fixes an open OLT adapter to handle float. Let's see. This is another one related to the same topic. Yes?
This is done too, I think.
Yeah, this is one is done too.
Okay. Let me change that to done. And scrolling up, we have some more defects. The next one, 2784. So this is what those subtasks are related to, ping failures seen when ONUs get stuck in an invalid state. And so it sounds like we still have the unit test item open, so this one will remain open for now. Any other updates from you on this item, Girish?
No, nothing on
Okay,
this item.
thank you. Okay. Then next we have Vol 2774, another defect. Allow not filtering the pbit values for the Turk Telecom workflow. And this one, there is a patch out there, but has not passed verification. Do we have anyone on who can speak to this issue?
As far as I know, Gamze is working on it.
It needs a manual rebase. I know that there's a lot of just kind of boilerplate rebase stuff that needs to happen because of other patch sets, but there's a one function in there that needs some rework. I was seeing some test failures using it.
Okay, and David, I see you have comments in there along those lines. So
Yep.
thank you for that. All right, let me go ahead and move on then to our next one. We have 2734, ONOS double tagged multicast support. And this one has one open subtask still, so maybe we should go look at that one first. So let me move there. Cord multicast should support the configuration of inner VLAN ID for multicast flows. This is Vol 2796.
Yeah, I think Pierre has some comments on that on the patch. I don't think they have been addressed, or may have been. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, not addressed yet.
Okay. So let me leave this one for now then. And sorry. And then with this one still open, I think that means that the larger story will stay open as well. So not sure if this one is going to be completed by code freeze or not then, I think. 4. Okay. The next item, 2731, sanity test for Turk Telecom workflow. And this shows is in progress. Do we have anyone from the test brigade perhaps who can give an update on this?
Yeah, actually this can be closed.
Okay.
Yeah, this is already completed.
For Turk Telecom work?
I'm sorry. This is Turk Telecom, not DT. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is still in progress. Yeah,
Okay.
this will be open until end of March.
Okay. Thank you. Then next we've got 2705, adjust unit test timeouts in read-write core. Ken, it looks like this is one of yours in progress.
This one is a little bit dependent on what Scott found during the unit test that is trying to figure out where all the points of failures are. So I think this one we could close this one and open a subsequent one of based on what Scott find, because most of the timeout adjustment that needed to be done are already done. Some of them, but if there's anything new, then this one would not cover. So there's no point of keeping that, and just maybe just open new ones once Scott finds something else.
Okay. So do we need to put any dependencies in here at this point, or just go ahead and close it out and then have new ones for whatever Scott finds?
I think let's just have new ones, whatever Scott finds. There's no point of putting dependencies
Okay.
on this one.
And this way, you said the other timeouts are already fixed. So should I put this one as fixed, or is this a?
Yeah, you can put them as fixed because I adjusted some of the timeout already.
Got it. Thank
So
you.
do we know at this point whether all of the intermittent issues have been resolved by these timeouts, or are there still occasional intermittent problems in the VoltaGo tests? It's been a week or two since I've looked at them myself.
Yeah, I addressed the timeout in one specific scenario. I think you raised that, and I think Kent also raised that one. So that one is addressed. In terms of the other issues, I don't think those other issues are really timeout related. I think it's maybe some of the channel issues that you were saying.
Yeah, I think the other issues could be concurrency or correctness, and I think
Yeah,
raising the timeout to infinity, they would just sit there for infinity.
exactly.
Yeah, so maybe this week I will run the script that I had been running and just quantify which ones I'm still seeing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Thanks, Ken. Then the next one, 2694, use package-specific logger instance in all log statements. And it looks like we've got 3 merged patches and 1 is still open at this point, or yeah. Any updates for this item or status? Looks like this is currently under discussion and has a couple of +1s.
Yeah, is there any reason this doesn't get merged right now? It's got 2 +1s, yeah?
Yes, it did. Let me go back in. I saw 2 at the bottom, Ken and Kent.
Yeah, it's probably can just need to hit the
Probably
submit button.
Okay.
All right. And then 2690, downstream flow addition fails with pbit 0 for Deutsche Telekom workflow. And let's see.
Yeah, there is a CSP out there for this one.
Ah, okay. Thank you. So this one, I think, is pending a response for the CSP. Any other discussion on that item before we move on?
In my opinion, it's not critical for this release. I mean, if you cannot get the fix in time from Broadcom, it's okay, because this is not a tech profile that they want. I mean, this happens only with 1 T-count, 1 gem, and the tech profile that they need is 1 T-count, 8 gem.
We can keep it around to see if if there is a fix for this in the next.
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise, we'll move it to the future.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Our next one, 2684, intermittent errors in VoltaGo unit tests. Scott, this one is yours.
Yeah, that's the one I was just
Yeah.
talking with Ken about. So I need to revisit. I'm assuming most of these problems are still happening. Maybe a few of them resolved by the timeouts, but possibly still some intermittent things going on.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? And we'll move on to our next one, Vol 2658. Volt kettle commands fail if deadline exceeded error. And David, it looks like this one is yours. And we have
Yeah, this seems related to the other one with the delete infinite loop. Basically, some of the tests that Andy wrote is to make this repeatable. Essentially, VoltCuddle makes a gRPC call that times out so that the core isn't responding to it. Still tracing this one down.
Okay.
Yeah, leave it at that.
All right. Thanks, David.
And David, that's with the timeouts up to 5 minutes, so it's one of those things that may never respond at that time.
I'm pretty confident it's not responding. Yeah, there's some warnings and errors in the logs that are a little disconcerting too. The OLT seems to have lost contact to the ONU. There's something being dropped somewhere, something erroring out. Still chasing again. Not quite sure where it is yet.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Then 2629, use containerized tools for checking BBSIM. And it looks like we've got 2 mergers. Kent, this one's yours.
I will say that is done.
This one's done? All right, let me go ahead and move this to done. Thank you. And next, 2607, collect CPU usage on the VOLTHA scale measurements job.
This is in progress, but it's not blocked for the release. I mean, it's completely unrelated to tagging or branching or anything that happens to the Vault code.
Okay. Any questions from anyone else? Yes.
I don't know if you want to move it to future so it's not in the way of counting the issue. It will keep going in parallel, but it won't block the release.
Sounds good. I've moved that one out to future. Thanks. Questions before we move on? Then next, we've got 2591, check MIB state OMCI flows pushed on OLT recreation.
Yeah, please leave it here.
Okay. Thank you. Then next, we've got 2589, check for the Ethernet NNI port status for OLT disable and enable.
Yeah, so the patch is almost ready, so should be merged by end of the week. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. $25.88, add Turk Telecom workflow to OpenOLT scale tester.
Yeah, this one is done.
All right, let me move that. Thank you. Vol 2317, if a device enable or disable fails, subsequent attempts to disable the device return without error. And this is Scott's.
So this one may have been one that we needed. I think it was one that we weren't sure was a problem, or if it was just a workflow that was confusing. And it may have changed. So this was written in December. I would say this one, yeah, it's got a verify tag, needs to be verified. I can take on to verify this one and see if it's still an issue. The crux of the issue was that you would disable a device, it would error, and then you would disable the device a second time, and it would appear in VoltCuddle to succeed. And that, like I say, that was more of a workflow thing, you know, that from a user experience, you'd expect if it failed once, it'd fail again. But yeah, it just seemed confusing from a user expectation, but it may have been working as expected. I'll take another look at it.
Thank you, Scott. Other questions before we move on? And next, we've got 2311, This is for logging, implement dynamic log levels in OpenONU adapter.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we have Rohan, probably not on the call, but this because this is the OpenONU adapter and it's written in Python, this is taking longer than it took for the other
Okay.
Go-based patches. So this probably after the release, I would think.
Do we want to move it now or wait until you check with Rohan?
No, I think we move it now.
Yeah.
Move it now? Okay.
So basically, dynamic log levels will work with everything except the ONU
Except
adapter
the ONU adapter. All right.
in the
Put this
release.
in
Is that?
future.
I'm kind of looking for confirmation on that. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. We have the core, we have the OLT adapter, we have the OF Agent Go. So the OpenONU adapter and OF Agent Pi would be the two notable ones that are left out.
Yeah, so OF Agent Pi, I think we're not focusing on that anymore. So that leaves just the ONU adapter.
Yeah, I think this is the only one of consequence. I mean, we could say something like BBSim, but I think BBSim is out of scope for this work item. It has its own command line client and its own logging configuration. So it seems like the OpenONU adapter is the only one.
So how are the 6 closed get it patches for this? I mean, were they all related to the OpenONU adapter? Or looks like it, yeah. Okay, doesn't matter. There's still work left, so. All right.
Other comments or questions? Okay, next one. We have an epic, update the VOLTHA transaction model. And I think we have 2 of the issues in the epic that are still in the to-do state.
Are those subtasks in future or 2.3? Can
Let
you
me take
try
a
one
look.
of them?
We've got future for one.
I think those should be future, because
Yeah.
there's still some work that needs to be done across board for the full transaction.
Okay, so then the
And
epic,
both of those are in future.
shall we move the epic to future then? Actually, epics, I don't care. I mean, so much. We can just.
Yeah, we can move them.
Yeah, let's move it to future. Sorry.
Is this the future? Okay.
Yeah.
Whoops, wrong button. See if I can, let's see what happened here. I've lost my controls. Don't tell me it logged me out. No, I'm logged in. Okay. I may have to try to move that later. Let me try again. There we go. Now I have my edit button back. Thanks. All right, next to 2106, OpenONU adapter reconcile. And Matt, this one is yours.
It is pending further verification with Jenkins. Ran it multiple times in my environment and tested, it passed sanity. The Pi Volta changes are merged. Now waiting for the hardware test, functional tests to pass on it, which hopefully should be in about an hour.
All right, very good. Questions before we move on? And moving on to the next one. 2102, OpenONU adapter should update its Kubernetes ready state to false when it loses connectivity to its required services. We have a couple patches out there for review, it looks like. These are fairly new, so it came in yesterday, it looks like, so still waiting for review. Let me check the second one as well. Similar situation. So both of those will need reviews. Any comments or questions from the group?
One of those looks like it's against VOLTHA. Are we still working on that? Is that still maintained?
VOLTHA is required by the ONU adapter.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? And next we've got 2055, changes to open OLT adapter for supporting multiple TCONs. And this one is in progress, and we've got a patch out there for work in progress.
Yeah,
Not for review yet.
there was the review, the patch looked okay, but when I tested it on hardware, I had some errors, so I have posted it back to Burak.
Okay.
I'll work with him on this one.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Questions before we move on? The next one is 2054. Validate technology profile with PBIT verification.
Yeah, please leave it here. The patch is almost ready, and then yeah, should be get
Great.
next week.
Thanks. Any questions before we move on? And 2052.
Yeah, same with this.
Oh, same here. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. And then now we go into some epics. 1791, VOLTHA 2.x test automation. And so this has some to do and some in progress. So how do we want to handle, I think the rest of these, let me see. Yes, the rest of these are
all the rest that are just epics. I think those are, I think we can move those to future just because, for example, the release automation and the test automation, those are all going to span multiple things, and they're sort of just ongoing areas of work, like the maintenance branch or like the maintenance epic, that things that need done but aren't going to get done ever, kind of. It's using epics as organization. Maybe not the right way to use epics, but
yeah. Well, and then
is that well, this is the old LT. Can someone has this been done? It looks
we've got a couple to-dos,
right,
and we've got a couple in progress, a few more to-dos.
Yeah, there's going to be some elements. So for example, in this release, we moved to BAL 3.2, but ultimately we want to move to BAL 3.4. And that's going to be in the next release. So this is also at least going to span one more release. So you can move it to future.
Okay. All right, my remote desktop, my screen stopped responding to my mouse, or I just have a very slow connection at the moment. I think I must have a slow connection at the moment. Okay, I think
we can do it for you.
Yeah, we'll do that after the call. I can move that. Let me try and get back to my screen. I think we had one. Okay, so we've got two more epics. We'll just move move everything over to future for the remaining epics. So I think that takes us through the walkthrough of the open issues. And yeah, I'm having absolutely no luck controlling my screen at the moment. This is my apologies to everyone, but part of the shelter at home effort in California at the moment. Okay, so let me go back. Maybe we can see things better if I can get it to change tabs on a different screen. Okay, so I know we've knocked down the number of to-do and in-progress items. We have a few more that are going to move out for the epics. So probably about 20-ish items remaining to try and address before, well, some of the defects can carry over to later, but take a look at these before we do the code freeze. So let me go ahead then, go back to our agenda screen. Are there other issues that we need to specifically look at today, or any other technical discussion on open JIRAs? Okay, I'm not hearing any. How about Sarov or anyone else? Do we want to have some comments about the plans for the code freeze? A little discussion there?
Yeah, we can have a discussion. I mean, most of the issues I saw were either bugs or test-related items. Regarding actual code, there were probably 5 or so, I think, that I counted out of those 20-ish issues. So some, like Matt's patches, of course, we want to get those in. There are a few others that may not be necessary. I still have to go and revisit it, but I'm okay giving it today and tomorrow before we branch out. Any thoughts? Anybody else on the call?
In terms of the branching itself, is the plan to actually have 2 branches and do the commit to both? Because I remember we had issues with that before.
Yeah, that's when we had a million things to commit. My idea over here is that we branch out and only fix bugs on the branch. And yes, they would then also cherry pick over to master.
So I guess
but hopefully this should be like, 6 or 7 bugs that are still on the pipeline that we would want to put onto the branch.
So in terms of process, it's generally better to fix in master and then verify that the fix works, and then cherry pick the fix to the stable branch.
Sure.
I guess my question is it worth actually creating the stable branch before we have features that we want to put into master? Would it be worthwhile to just freeze master for new code and only use it for bug fixes? And then if we actually have a change that we want to merge into master, then we can actually branch. I don't see the point of doing it early and then having to do the all the cherry picking. We can avoid that process if we just freeze master for the time. Because I don't think there's anything that needs to come in immediately, right? Like most of the work that's coming in post 2.3 won't be ready for a few weeks. Any thoughts on that?
So, okay, I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with that if you want to freeze master for 2 weeks.
I just think it would be the easier process. I
guess the counter argument would be, perhaps developers and brigades that we don't have tasks to fixing bugs, but they are working on new features. I mean, we can just have them hold off commits for a couple weeks, and maybe that would be sufficient. But once you get to any amount of time, then there might be a whole bunch of new features come in at once, and you have a giant rebase storm amongst all those people trying to get their work in 2 weeks. That, I think, would be the counter argument to this proposal. I think for those of us working on the core, the proposal is certainly easier to just freeze master. But for those, like I say, in brigades and elsewhere who are working on feature development, it may be more painful for them.
Do we think it's going to take 2 weeks? That seems kind of long to me. I'm not a big fan of long freezes, but everything would end of this week or a week from today?
Are you suggesting is it going to take 2 weeks to get all bug fixes into 2.3?
Yeah, and then there are going to be some after. So
yeah, I would expect it's going to take more than 2 weeks to work out all the bugs.
I guess I'm saying just hold off. Sort of a blend of the two solutions. It's basically just don't fork until we actually have somebody wanting to merge a new feature.
would it be helpful to describe what the release process is and where we can do this?
I think all that Kent's suggesting is, hey, look, don't branch today because there's no need to. The minute someone has a patch set that is future and not 2.3, pardon me, then branch.
I think that's reasonable. And also,
isn't that all you're saying, Kent?
Yep, that's it. That's
yeah. And the way that we've been doing this has been lazy branching, which has been make versioned releases, and then if we need to branch, we start on one of those versioned releases and we start a branch that's the stability or the release branch, and then we just rev the version on that one component.
Okay, but then you're not thinking about the nightly regression testing, right?
Yeah, we do need to then modify the jobs.
Master, then you do lazy branching on one component here, one component 3 days later. Then how are we testing the release?
So I believe we have tests that pull from the Helm charts, and the Helm charts are what compose the release.
Right, and any interdependency should be based on a quote-unquote released version number anyway, right?
Yeah, you test the release based on container version, not on branches.
Correct.
Is there a need even to branch? Like, is there anybody that's going to use version 2.3?
What if no one is using? Why are we doing it?
It's a fair
I'll
question.
deploy it. I intend on deploying it. This is Matt. So yes, part of the reason for having something that is a known tag release that is stable is, after it's been through a set of testing and it's passed the testing for a few days where there's some confidence in it. But kind of like we've been through the last couple of weeks, we'll have some regression issue. All merges stop. That's fixed, and then the floodgates opened up again, and then we're going to be presumably back in the same situation in a couple of days after a few more merges go in. Now some of our tests are failing, and we're going to kind of lurch like this until we have a point where we're saying, this is good, this is stable, branch it, tag it, and then the instability that is master can resume.
Don't we attain the same thing by setting up a version in each of the branches, and we say this is the version that is stable instead of doing branching?
I mean, I think the tagging does the job. It's been doing the job already. It's really just a question of after we tag, if there's something that needs to be fixed based on that tag, that we don't want to drag in all of the other new master presumed instabilities, right? So let's say async work starts happening again and some of the adapters start taking on async work, but then there's a bug fix in there in the middle. I don't necessarily want to take on all of the async work, but I do want the bug fix.
And at that point, we can make a branch from that old tag and work from that and do the cherry pick over.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We can do it based on necessity. I think how we've been doing tags all along has been great, and we can wait to create the branch until that moment in time comes where we need to make that choice. But I do think there is value in having a moment in time where we know all our tests are passing, and we shouldn't have to stop all development work every 3 days for that to happen.
I understand the need for that. I'm just wondering, like, if it's because we went through this kind of process a long time. We end up doing a lot of cherry picking, and then go back to master and go to the branch, and then put something in and go through regressions, and then go back again, do this. I'm just wondering if there's a better approach.
Well, I think part of the problem is last time we started branching way too early in the process. We didn't have a set of stable tests from which we could say we're at a good point, right? So at that point in time, when we were doing all the cherry picking, it was like there was no real kind of base to start from that said this is good. I think going forward now, if we do branch at a moment in time where we decide it's time, the selection process of what gets cherry picked back into the branch is much, much more selective. Only bugs, and I would even say bugs that are deemed, functional critical, get cherry picked back. Anything related to creature comforts, anything kind of, and you can work around some other way, doesn't get put back in. It has to be something where you're in a broken state and you can't get out of it.
Okay. Do we have a list of prioritized features that we know needs to be in the next release, and then focus our work only on that instead of creating features that are not that important?
When you say new features, you mean features for the 2.4 release?
Yeah, because it's if we just focus our effort into, because we want to have a release that's stable, that has all the features that we need. So if we focus on that and people get just assigned for prioritized features, like just now we are prioritizing bugs to prioritize features, and says those are the features, those are the only one that will make 2.4, and that's it. And then we just work towards that and have a proper release.
You just changed the topic that we were talking about. But to answer your current question, do we have a prioritized list? Not yet. There are some things that were supposed to get into 2.3 that did not make it in. So they will naturally fall over to 2.4. And then there may be a few other things that will come up that will go through discussions in the next couple of weeks and then make their way into JIRA. So the discussion on 2.4 is still pending. But
No, I understand. Like I'm not trying to change the topic. I'm just saying, like, if we know the end, if we have the end in mind, then we can figure out how to work our way towards it. Otherwise, we'll just get in this situation where we'll say, okay, we'll have this release and 2.3, and then we'll work towards 2.4, and then we'll get to the same non-stop changing the release date and moving things around. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, is there a better way to do this?
So since we started the surge, we have not changed release dates, right? Release dates have been fixed. There was one supposed to be at the end of December, there was one supposed to be at the end of March, and we are doing that.
Yeah, but the content has changed, right?
The content is what was discussed at the start of the SIBA surge, right? There was a list of features that were deemed necessary by the operators in discussions in the Tiger team. And we've been working towards those. It was an
Are we getting all the content in 2.3 that we planned?
No, we're not, because we couldn't get there. We've done a lot, and in about a week or so, I can give you what we started out to achieve by the end of March and how far we made in each of those things. I'm preparing presentations for the Tiger team as well as the ONF board meeting next week. So I can do the same thing at the All VOLTHA call and give you an idea about what we achieved and where we fell short. And so what is necessary to get done in the next 3 months. But the question about branching right now, I'm going by what my original thoughts were, what Matt also reinforced, that, I see a lot of value in branching and just fixing bugs in the branch. The question about when we branch, that's okay, but I don't want to leave it open-ended or lazy branching. We can wait another day, at most 2, and then we will branch. There will be a few cherry picks that will be necessary for bugs, but our tests will be fixed on the branch. That will be the 2.3 release. And we will be working through the regression tests that we see on that branch, and then fixing it in master and cherry picking it over to the branch.
Okay, so we're actually going to do a full branch at branch time. Is that
yes
the agreement?
Yes. I'm not sure if we have full agreement.
Yeah, I'm not sure the agreement is.
Agreement is not the word, but I think that's the call I'm making.
I also feel that we should be branching right now at this time, because we have been tagging until now and then making sure that we have a point where all the tests pass. But now this is the end of the release, so branch is the correct way to go about, and I feel it's necessary to branch out. So I agree with that idea, and then I support that.
Can I think we're confusing 2 issues. One is, what does a branch get us in terms of being able to test?
No, sorry, I've heard the arguments on both sides. I don't think I am confused. I think we are fine over here. The call is made. We will branch in a couple of days.
Can we make a list of which repositories comprise the branch? For example, there's things like BBSim. Are we going to branch BBSim so we know we have a BBSim that's compatible with the current release? Stuff like that.
Yeah, that too. So
just as long as we know what it's all inclusive of.
Yeah, list should be easy.
Other questions or comments?
I mean, if we're going to force branch in a couple days, I'm not sure it makes a difference in a couple days or do it today.
I think, no, I think there's, like I said, there were 4 or 5 features, feature-related patches in the list that we just went through. So let's get those features in before we branch out.
Will the multiple ONU instances be in the branch, or that's going to be future?
That's something that's happening in parallel. It's not 100% needed.
That will be future for sure, because it's a pretty big feature that will come in.
Yeah, as far as I understand, it's still in progress, and it's going to take much more than one patch. There will be issues.
Yeah. So the scalability of 2.3.
Yeah, exactly. All scale-related things are going to go through the next release.
This is Mahir. I also want to upload my pitch about the VLAN filter tasking ONU adapter in these 2 days, if it's okay for you too.
So that one, Mahir, is going to take a lot more work, as far as I understand, in testing, making sure it doesn't break the other workflows. So that one, I'm actually not sure if it's going to make it into 2.3.
Okay, but I think that Mets tested it for the AT&T case, and also Andrea checked it for DT workflow, and Özge also in our site tested it for Telecom workflow. So what other tests will we do, or who will do?
Well, for one thing, the
to do
automated
tests.
tests don't exist for the Turk Telecom workflow yet, right?
Yeah.
So, well, before we go to the automated tests, let me ask Matt, how do you feel about the Myers patch? And why is there no JIRA for that? How come we didn't discuss it in this list that Julie just went through?
Yes, you're right about that, because it started with a work in progress work, so I didn't create JIRA task for it, but I'll create one for it.
Okay. It came on a little bit late into the into this release.
Yes, you're right, because I mean we had a lot of changes in ONO adapter about other things, so we have to do it partly. So this one came very late. I understand. I see.
Matt, you have an opinion?
Generally speaking, I mean, the refactor is really, a lot of what it is refactoring that task is good work and it needs to be done. But this is kind of a lot like some of the other refactors we've done where once it's in and tested, and I did my personal test on it after tweaking it a little bit, then there's running it through all the Jenkins set of official regression tests, which, we're up to like 16 or so now. And typically with patches like this, once they go in, there's 2 or 3 days of this scenario wasn't tried, or that scenario in this order is a little bit different. And it'll be the same thing again. As soon as we put this in, all the tests will have to be, examined, in detail in order to figure out if something, went wrong with it. And again, an individual testing is not the same as the regression test suite. So part of pre-merge, we can say, yes, I'm confident that this should be fine. But invariably what happens as soon as it goes in, tests will start failing. And at least initially, we know the tests are going to fail because the EPOL work testing requires the EPOL packets to be untagged. Up until now, that hasn't been an issue, but now with this change, the pre-VOLT subscriber, any EPOL traffic that comes in must be untagged. So all of the tests will have to change to support that.
And also, if I may add to this, while from, again, as Matt said, the logically, the patch sounds fine from a DT perspective workflow, it's not being tested with the Circom ONU that DT plans to use because they are currently facing a 1 tcont 8 gem issue with that ONU. So I'm not confident merging it. And I feel the same from, this statement is not valid for myself, but it's valid for the DT folks I work with. We are not confident merging it because it is not being tested to the extent we would like. So the request I've been given by the folks that are working technically here in DT is that if we merge that, they're gonna use whatever tag is prior to that in any component. So
Mahir, it seems like there's enough apprehension about that particular patch, and which would require us to carefully test it for a while. It might make more sense to do that in master after we branch out for the release.
Okay, makes sense, but then how will be the process? I mean, will we go to open some tasks for regression test, or I don't know what test is required? So
Yeah,
who will test it and how?
We sit together with Suchitra to carefully understand how our regression tests actually need to change in order to incorporate that particular patch. And then maybe without merging it, we create the image, we include the patch, we create an image, and run it through the regression tests a few times. So it's just a sort of a careful set of things that need to happen for that patch to merge, which it sounds like we are a lot more comfortable doing that once we are past the branch out and fixing the issues in the branch. And then we can do this on master very carefully. So this one, because it just came really late into the cycle, and it's a little bit disruptive to the other workflows, and there's apprehension around doing it this late into the release. This one, I think we should just create a JIRA item, mark it as future for now, and then carefully handle it once we are past the release, the issues that we know are going to be in that release branch. So I can work with you, say, starting next week, with you and Suchitra to make sure that that batch gets merged. But I think it makes sense to leave it out of the release now, just from all the comments that I'm hearing.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
But can you please create a JIRA item for it and mark it as future for now?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mahir.
Okay, we're almost out of time on this call. Any last topics that we need to discuss with this group before we adjourn today? All right, I'm not hearing anything. David, just a question for you, since I haven't checked VOLTHA Discuss or things that I've been, or the Slack channel I've been on here. Are you still having the stabilization call after this meeting, or no?
No, I got something else I got to get done actually anyway, so I just canceled it.
Okay.
We got an internal meeting. I did post to the Slack channel the items that we're going to go over. The agenda essentially is just a status update, so that information's there if people want to look at it.
All right. Thank you, David. I think with that, we are done for today's call. Thanks, everyone, for walking through things and for the discussion today. I will go ahead and stop the recording, and we will close today's meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Julie.